You're on YouTube, my love. How are we? Welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do today, because I haven't really been filming all the last few days. Now, one of the reasons for it being is like, being back in Ireland, I can actually kind of see why there is very, very few YouTubers here. Number one, the weather since I've got back has been absolutely abysmal. I think this is the first day that hasn't actually rained, but it's still like just so grey. Every other day it's rained, and it's just generally depressing as fuck, especially like where I actually live. There's not a huge amount to do, not many nice walks in the area either, which is obviously, you know me, I like my walks, I like my loops, and yeah, it's not very fun, not very hot girl summer. It's very dreary Irish spring. But anyway, so this is Milo, if you haven't met him before. But anyway, yeah, haven't been recording anything really the last few days. Again, as I mentioned, the weather has been terrible, as well as recording in Irish gyms is just, it can be a little bit touchy. Number one, people are really weird about GDPR here. So GDPR, if you are an American and you're watching this, you're probably like, what the fuck is that? It's essentially this like data protection regulation that is like enforced in Europe, and it just kind of permits people, I suppose, like a kind of legal right to not have their pictures or anything like that used. So if somebody is in the background of a video, for example, they could like make a claim off the back of that, and as a result, a lot of gyms will abide by this, and they will tell you to stop recording if you're in a gym, which I have been told to do. And look, it's cool. It is fair, and I do at the best of times try to stop that happening. But you know, when people are coming up to you, like, you know, people kind of giving you kind of the side eye for taking out the camera, it is kind of a little bit kind of off-putting to do. It's so different, the norms and the attitudes to recording in a gym in the States, Canada, versus here. Like when I was recording in Pure, for example, it wasn't uncommon for there to be people in the gym, like multiple people in the gym at the same time, with like cameramen, like a crew of people, as well as just like everybody like recording. And it's kind of like, just like, yeah, fine, if you're in the back of the video, like, who cares? I suppose one thing I was actually thinking about recently is witness protection. That's apparently a thing. That's one of the reasons why I suppose GDPR is actually have some utilities. Like if somebody is in a witness protection program and they're at the back of your video, like that could harm their safety. So that's a good insight. But I mean, you know, if you're just the guy who's trying to skive off work and you told your manager that you were taking a sick day when you're really in the gym, you know, yeah, you probably should get some kind of disciplinary hearing. And or if you're telling your missus that you were, you know, doing something important for her and you're actually just going to the gym, or you're in the gym with another girl, you know, that's definitely when you should be cut out. But like, what are the chances of that actually happening? Anyway, all of that to say, I haven't really been vlogging the last few days, and that's been fine. There hasn't been a huge amount happening really. My days have been very short in regards to, I've just went to the gym and I haven't really done anything else other than sat on my laptop because I live in the middle of fucking nowhere. Anyway, in this video, I want to go through my goals for the upcoming competition. But before then, I did my final deadlift session, my final heavy deadlift session there on Tuesday. I met up with two of my clients, Raquel and Emma. Emma is also competing at the AB Series. She's competing in Division 1 females on the Sunday. So we got our final heavy deadlifts in. What I'm going to do is going to roll the clips, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about my goals, my expectations for next weekend.
One.
Come on, Shane.
Please.
Nice.
Go.
Let's go, Emma. Time to lock in. All right, get aggressive now. Let's go.
Come on. Let's go.
Stick with it, stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. Woo.
Easy.
Nice. Down.
On my own, would I take 2 to 3 minutes just scrolling around, getting myself in the headspace? Yeah. It's a group training session, everyone understands.
No, for sure.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go do my
Like when I'm on the platform, I love both of them when I'm on the platform, I don't know anyone.
We're going to go through some goal setting because I did some this week for the competition, and usually one might set some goals at like the start of a prep or like, yeah, when they buy the competition ticket, but I actually didn't really set any concrete goals then at all, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't. So this is the first time I'm going to be competing in this specific category. It is the most competitive flight, or the strongest flight that I'm ever, well, not that I'm ever going to be in, that's actually a bad way to say, because I'd hope I'd want to progress further from where I am right now. But it's the strongest one that I'm going to have competed in to date. And like realistically, if I'm being completely objective, I'm probably not going to come close to podium, because there's some guys who have like well over 500 dots. So it's going to be, first of all, just like cool to compete around people of that level. Also, it's going to be like such a fucking crazy day. I've got clients competing in the morning. Then before my flight, we have the Clash of the Titans. In the Clash of the Titans, there's Dan Bell, Nicholas DePries, Fernando Arias. There is Dave Richardson. There's Eamon Harford. There is a huge amount of like extremely strong lifters. Like literally the strongest people on the planet. Like Dan Bell is like the all-time world record holder. So to even be competing on the same day and touch the same bar that he is going to be competing with is going to be pretty cool. Hopefully he adds a little bit of whip to the bars so that I can lift a little bit more on my deadlift for sure. Because it's my first time competing in this category, I haven't really set any concrete goals. And it's actually kind of done me a little bit of a favour, because I haven't been really going through the prep with putting a lot of pressure on myself for numbers that I need to hit, which has allowed me to, I suppose, enjoy the process a little bit more. And I've talked about this in other videos. You know, if I'm constantly thinking about what I need to hit on the platform or what I want to hit on the platform, then I'm also thinking of what I need to be hitting in training, and that influencing decision making during the training process, putting more stress on myself, and then as a result, like overthinking training and potentially having worse training sessions. Because look, the longer I'm kind of doing this, the more I'm coming around to the mindset that, you know, if you can make better training decisions more often, you're going to feel better about your training versus the weight that you hit, right? Because ultimately the weight in the bar is going to go up and down depending on the session. And, you know, at one point it is going to go down, right? At one point we are going to regress. And then from there, do we just stop training? Do we stop enjoying training? So the kind of earlier that we can shift to this more kind of process-oriented mindset, it is going to allow us to enjoy training that a little bit more. And I've kind of taken that into the approach that I've used to set my goals for this competition. So John sent me over a meet card, essentially just planning out attempts as well as planning out the goals for the next week, for next weekend. So I'm going to go through exactly the questions, the prompts that he gave me. So maybe if you're competing next weekend or you have a competition coming up, you can use these prompts too to help you set better goals, right? Because ultimately, I don't necessarily think just the goal of what do you ideally want to hit is the only question that you should ask yourself, or only question that you should use when it does come to setting these goals, because that's you just give yourself 1 point for success. We need to have a little bit more, and hopefully when I'm kind of walking through these, you have a really good idea as to, okay, this is the thought process that you could take to set better goals for your competition and enjoy the day that little bit more. So the first question is, what are your main goals for this competition? And an add-on to this is, this should be something that you could hit on a good day, but not the perfect day. Okay? Because perfect is like, you know, all the stars have to align, and yeah, we can't always expect perfection, because I think it's better off to slightly underset our expectations. We obviously set big goals, but slightly underset our expectations so that we're pleasantly surprised, versus then set the bar too high and automatically be very disappointed. So what I said was go 9 for 9. That's my first thing. Honestly, I would prefer to make most of my lifts than set a massive total. Again, going back to what I mentioned about being process oriented, any of the meets I've done, the ones where I've done the worst, the one that I did the worst on was actually last time I did an ab series. I went 7 for 9, and even though I PB'd my total and I PB'd on squat as well as bench, I actually felt kind of shit because I missed those 2 lifts. So those actually weighed me more than the PB total, and I suppose that can be telling to a degree that like I determine my success more on lifts made. So that is one of the goals I want to set. I've only went 9 for 9 once. I can obviously do it again. I'm going to have a good handler on the day, and I'll be mindful of my time selection. And again, through the process of not necessarily overemphasizing weight in the bar through the last few weeks, I think I have a really good idea as to where my strength is going to lie on the day, if I'm being completely honest. And that's been one of the benefits of setting goals now, because I'm setting more realistic goals, because I know, okay, that was my heaviest squat, that was my heaviest deadlift, that was my heaviest bench. Realistically, what can I add on to that in a week's time, you know? Versus setting these huge goals, and again, through the process, overshooting numbers, you know, putting stress on yourself, maybe peaking too early, missing lifts in prep, and then, you know, having these kind of huge goals that you're looking to hit on competition day, and then being so far away from them, and then you're just like, you're not even looking forward to the competition because you're going to not meet your expectations. So for me, 9 for 9, it's numero uno. If I am going to look at numbers, I'm going to go for 5 reds on the squat, so that's going to be 280. I hit 275 in training last week. I definitely do think I could hit 280 on a good day, 285 on a perfect day. So, you know, I do definitely think that would be one to work towards. Now, naturally enough, it's a milestone weight, 5 reds on the bar. Every time you go up another colour plate, it's another little milestone, especially when you're getting up to like another red, right? And the next one then is a 300 deadlift. So my best ever deadlift is 292. Hit 275 for 3 there. So it's definitely in the range of what I'm capable of. They're milestone weights at the end of the day, right? Like hitting another century, another 100 kind of barrier, another red on the bar. It's worth setting these as goals if they are there for the taking. Now, if they're not there for the taking, I don't see the issue with kind of setting goals that are a little bit lower, right? Because ultimately, say for example, you just hit a 225 squat, for example, and your next goal is like 250. Well, there's nothing wrong with you undersetting your goal for your next competition to be like 235, 240, or whatever, versus the higher number, because ultimately they're stepping stones, and stepping stones still matter. The stepping stones will allow you to get there, right? We can't necessarily bypass them, and we won't always bypass them every time, because some people's rate of progression is just going to be a little bit slower. So, if you are kind of doing a competition and you have that milestone weight in mind, but you're kind of not really anywhere near it based off your training, maybe just underset it for like what is the most reasonable progression for you, because like realistically, this is not going to be my last competition. So even if I didn't hit these numbers here, they're going to happen eventually at some point. Like assuming I'm going to progress a little bit more, which hopefully I will. The next question is, what constitutes a minimum performance? So this is the minimum standard that you'd like to meet on that day, or the worst case scenario that you'd still consider worth doing. I'd like to go 8 for 9, and I'd like to hit 460 dots. So 460 dots for me is like a minimum standard to hit in this competition if I want to do this category again, because the dots went up for this weight class this year. So previously it was 440. I hit that at Irish Nationals in 2022. That was like one of my big goals for that competition, and now it's went up. So the standard is raised because there's more competitive lifters. So I want to ensure that the minimum that I do is that. That means I have to hit about 732 at 95, which means with my weight cut, assuming I don't lose that much, and this hit 732, which is relatively achievable, especially with an 8 for 9 day, very achievable with an 8 for 9 day, then I would hit that, right? Now, 8 for 9 is the minimum standard. However, if I don't hit 460, so be it. I can do it in the next one. However, as I mentioned already, I'd feel worse if I missed more attempts. Especially because 8 for 9 is a pretty consistent day for me. 8 for 9 is very consistent. I don't mind missing my third bench if I am reaching for something on it. Like it's been a lift that I've always missed in in every competition, pretty damn consistently. I've only went 9 for 9 once, which was last chance in 2021, and then other than that, my first competition, I missed my first bench by missing a command. So watch for your commands. But then after that, I've just been missing my third bench. So now naturally, I'd hope that I make a better, less emotion based decision for my third attempt, or I'm able to actually lock the bar out for once. But 8 for 9 would be the minimum standard, because I've never missed a squat in competition. I don't want to start at this one. I don't want to miss a final deadlift, because when you miss your final deadlift, it is awful. It's you could have the best day, but if you miss your final lift, it like automatically like stains like the rest of your meat. I find, at least. So yeah, that happened at the last ab series that I did. I went 7 for 9 at the last ab series, and I don't want that to happen again. The next question is, are there any special numbers or any milestones that you're aiming for in this lift? Now again, as I already mentioned this, I went through what these are for me already. So 300 deadlift, 280 squat. I would love to hit a 170 bench, but as I mentioned in one of the previous videos, it's just, I don't really think it's there. Like as much as it kills me to say it, like I feel like my bench press hasn't really progressed much over like the last year. What's meaningful? I suppose that's a better question. Like, what's meaningful progress? Now, I do think I'll probably hit a PB on bench, right? A competition PB. So my best in competition 160. I think I'll hit 165. On the perfect day, I could probably hit 170. Now, 170 realistically in competition, it's not as aesthetic as 175. So I don't really mind if I don't get it in this one at the same time. So I'm not going to push myself towards 170 if it's not there. I'll go for a 162 or 165. Is it the most ideal scenario? Is it what I really would like to happen? No, but it is a stepping stone towards where I want to go. And again, not going to be my final competition. There are plenty of things for me to still work on when it does come to bench press, probably from my own perspective of, putting the right weight in the bar more often. So that's going to be there down the road. The other two, however, again, I've hit 275 in training, 280 should be there. I've hit 292 in competition on the stiff bar. I've hit 275 for 3 on the deadlift bar as well as stiff bar. So 300 should be there. like assuming I can hold on to it. So other than that, I'm not going to set any kind of further goals with the lifts, because I think they're kind of good ones to hit, right? It'd be nice to be greedy and kind of get a little bit more on either of them. However, you know, what for? What for? Like, my total will be a little bit higher, my dots will be a little bit higher, but again, it's not going to be the last competition, so, you know, I'll build that total, I'll build the dots, I'll build the lifts, and the next one I'll have things a little bit more inflated, so I can, again, set a little bit more inflated goals for the next one. Now, the second last question is, what is your perfect meet day? So, my perfect meet day, still, 9 for 9, that's the ideal scenario. Now, if I was to add on a second ideal scenario, it would be 280 to 285 on the squat. So I'll give myself a little bit of range here, because, look, 280 is the 5 reds. 285 just means my total might be a little bit higher. But, you know, I won't lose any sleep if I hit 280 and not 285. 170 on the bench, of course, you know, it's just another milestone. However, again, if it's not there, I won't take it. And then 305 to 310 on the deadlift. So 305 because it's a little bit more aesthetic from a picture perspective. And 310 if it's there, like if the deadlifts are flying, you know, I'll take that, because if I get that all together and I weigh in at, like, you know, the 7% loss of body weight, which I will be aiming for with my weight cut, then we're looking at like 490 dots and like 765 total, which is pretty fucking good. Like, that's 490 dots. That's I'd like, that'd be amazing. However, again, I'm not going to overset my expectations on this. Minimum 460. Finally, what are your priorities? So this could be overall placement, it could be an individual lift, it could be records, it could be PRs. So what I said for this, as you could probably guess, enjoy the meet. Again, it's going to be one of the biggest meets I've competed in. It's going to be a phenomenal day. I can't wait to, like, speak to all of these high level lifters and, you know, kind of picking their brains, having a few fucking beers with them. I want to make as many good attempts as I can. I think, again, like, one thing that is great to watch as a spectator is somebody who's, like, really good with their attempt selection, really good with their performance, like, you know, clinical execution, and leaves nothing on the table, leaves no more kilos behind. And that's kind of like what I would love to aim for. I can grind out a squat. Like, all of my third attempts in pretty much most of my competitions, bar maybe my first and my second, have been complete grinders, and I can do it. I can stick with it. Nothing beats the feeling of walking out for your final deadlift and smashing it. And, you know, I'm sure hitting your third attempt bench feels pretty good too. So, yeah, I want to make as many good attempts as I can. I'd love to get 460 dots. I don't want to feel like I'm regressing, you know, and even though 460 would be a dots PB, or even 450 would, I don't want to feel like as if I'm kind of backslipping out of this category, because I don't know, when you're kind of competing in this scenario where you're divided by divisions, I do think there's a element of, this is the level that I compete at now, this is the level that I am, this is the level that I associate myself with. And after training for as long as I have, and putting as much kind of effort into the process, putting as much kind of investment into, like, coaching, nutritionists, I would hope that I'm at that level. Now, if I'm not, then so be it. However, I believe that that's where I am. That's the lifter I am. That's what I'm capable of. And I think there's a huge amount of powerlifting and sports is the athlete's own belief in themselves and their beliefs in their abilities. Like, you're never going to be really making much progress if you're just thinking that you are, like, the bottom of the pile all the time. And that's why I'm not that's why I'm not talking about, like, placements here in this class. Is like, I know I'm not going to come last. I could potentially come middle of the pile. Okay, now if I think I'm going to come last, nobody likes to come last. Like, even if you could be ranked last, okay, it's probably not the mentality that you should have, because, you know, you're not going to feel motivated to come to competition. Even if you're beating yourself, you're still going to want to be a little bit more competitive and trying to edge out the guy who's slightly ahead of you, and definitely trying to keep ahead the guy who's below you. That's why I don't want to see myself backslipping, I suppose. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much man spreading here. So yeah, that's pretty much my goals for this competition. So hopefully you got some kind of good prompts from this and some different ways to, I suppose, think about kind of setting your goals. This is how I kind of work through it in my mind anyway. Because look, I've done this is going to be my eighth competition, I'm pretty sure, and I've had competitions where I've overset my expectations. I've based my predictions or my goals off my E1RMs. I have made the kind of poor decision making during prep, and through those kind of failings, I have learned that this is probably the best way to do it. Because again, like when you fuck up, when you make mistakes, when you have failures, like these are all kind of points of which you're kind of meant to kind of take them and kind of learn. And look, there are things that you tell new powerlifters, young lifters all the time to do. However, I do think you kind of need to walk through the fire first before you're really able to understand the value of setting goals in this kind of way, and trying to have them to be a little bit more process oriented. That's pretty much it. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was somewhat useful. The weight cut starts on Monday. It is Saturday today. I'm meeting up with clients tomorrow, and we're going to do our final training session or our final squad session before competition. So that's going to be fun. And then, yeah, weight cut starts on Monday. So I'm going to bring you through all that and show you how I am going to come in light as fuck for next weekend. All right, talk soon.